Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishna. Om. Salutations to Bhagavan Ramakrishna. Welcome to the 14th class in Approaching Meditation. We have subtitled it Superimposition and Meditation. A brief recap. In our 6th class, we spoke about two streams of the mind, and where it was mentioned that one stream goes and apprehends or holds on to an object, and the second one is slightly delayed. It's like looking at lightning and then hearing thunder, because it doesn't take so long. But we also spoke in Doppler shifts in the mind, when a thought wave is like compressed as it approaches the witness, the you, and then it expands after it passes the witness, the witnessing consciousness, that is it. We also spoke about the very important aspect of every thought is associated with an idea. It's called a shabda and an artha, and they both together constitute what is called name and form, nama rupa. So the shabda, the word, the language, the alphabet gives rise to an associated meaning of that sound. No sound is without meaning. It has to have. And this name and form, nama rupa, is what is called the wave in the mind, chitta vritti. I think this is clear? Okay. Now we can proceed. Yeah, kind of a brief recap is essential as we proceed down these series of classes. We tend to forget. In fact, I tell you, if we have been practicing a little of what has been explained in all these classes, it will be a kind of a tremendous inner transformation. I don't need to recap or remind you. However, so the stronger the wave in the mind, it's called a chitta vritti. Or I give you the illustration of you plonk a pebble in a lake and a ripple emerges. Now the stronger the ripple, the more it can drag in other associated waves, thoughts. These are called, as we have mentioned, vyakti. The ideas, a series of ideas are associated with one idea. It's not just one idea comes and plonks and it's over. No, it gives rise to another series and series and series. So this is called the grand principle of, it's a part of the principle of causation. That is the pervasiveness called vyakti. Swami Vivekananda said our old philosophers of the logical school, or the logicians, you could say, Nyaya school, they brought out these, you can say, insights. Now, the problem is here. For a person with a restless mind, a thought emerges and there is a series of other thoughts which are associated with restlessness. You suddenly find yourself in Antarctica, and suddenly you might find a penguin, and suddenly you might find yourself in the Sahara, and you're supposed to be meditating. So any thought which has a kind of emotional content gives rise to a set of associated emotional ideas, waves in the mind. And kind of intellectual, you can say, thought wave will give rise to that particular series of, you can say, intellectual or logical thought waves. So it depends. So if you have a restless mind, how do we go about it? Yes, it's a big disadvantage, of course. But those who have practiced a little, they can break those associations. And they can associate that one thought wave that they are focusing on to be associated with divinity. This is the idea. It is extremely, extremely important that when we meditate on a particular object of meditation, it has to be divine. There's an old saying attributed also to the Buddha: as you think, so will you become. As you will think, so will you be. The power of thought is the most powerful thing in the world. Oh yes, ideas, if the time is right for an idea, it runs across society. So ideas, thoughts are very powerful. So when you think of the object as divine, you are filling yourself also with the ideas of divinity. It's not the object. And in one of our previous classes I mentioned, as you meditate on the object, the subject which is meditating also is influenced, because there is a connection between the meditator, the object of meditation, as well as the process of meditation. This is a triad: the object of meditation, the subject, and you can see the process of meditation. These three things are the tide. So if you hit one, you hit the other two also. It's obvious. So when you think of the object as divine, the process of meditation also becomes divine, as well as you are also suffused with these ideas of divinity. This is how we need to meditate. It's extremely important. People have been meditating for years and they find themselves kind of stuck. This is the reason why. We also need to see another thing, another aspect of yoga psychology I have mentioned, that when we meditate on an object, any object for them, the mind takes the form. First it reflects that object and takes that form. This is also an important aspect in yoga psychology. The mind takes the form of the object. The chitta vritti, the mental wave I was talking about, is the form of that object with the associated name and form. I think this is clear. And since there are hundreds and hundreds of forms just pouring out, we need to whittle it down and focus it on one. The Yoga Sutra, Swami Vivekananda's explanation is on this aphorism: the yogi whose vrittis, that is chitta vrittis, the wave in the mind, have thus become powerless or controlled, the other ones, obtains in the receiver, the subject, receiving the process of meditation, and the received, the object of meditation. And saying, oh yeah, so concentratedness and sameness like a crystal. So when you place a red flower before a crystal, it perfectly reflects that flower. The mirror is clean, of course. That's what happens when an object is brought in front of the mind. The mind reflects it and takes the form of that object. This is the wave in the mind. Now, if this is clear, now we can proceed with superimposition. Okay, but before we get into superimposition, why are certain objects of meditation recommended? First is, the sages who practiced meditation on those objects have their own realizations within them. It has been time tested. Through a long line of tradition, we don't know how many thousands and thousands of years, sages have come, meditated, given newer objects, but it is their realizations also within that object of meditation. Whether it's a symbol, whether it's just a kind of a name or a mantra or a figure or a picture of any deity. These objects have been used for thousands and thousands of years. Secondly, an object, whether it's mental or whether it's outside, it's material, mundane, non-spiritual, obviously. But that same, again, association of ideas, with the help of association of ideas, you can take a mundane, say, any kind of a flame, like we are talking about a flame of a candle. It's an object, mundane object. But if you associate it with ideas of divinity, like this represents my soul. Now what happens is, when you are meditating on that object, you are thinking of it not as a flame only, you are meditating on your own soul. And Sri Ramakrishna Order says that I have seen the soul like a flame. You can see the soul like a flame. Now, if this is clear, okay, we can now proceed. I want to be as clear as possible. In Advaita Vedanta, one of the pillars of one of the main branches of the Advaita doctrine, the doctrine of non-duality, is the concept of superimposition. And Shankaracharya, or we call him Bhagavan Bhashyakara, the one who wrote the commentaries on the Gita and the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutra, he starts the preamble starts with the idea of concept of superimposition. Now, to give you a kind of a rough example, Swami Vivekananda uses this classical Vedanta, you can say, illustration of superimposition. He says, okay, suppose a thief is walking down the street, he looks at something in the dark and thinks it's a policeman. A policeman walking on another street, he sees something and says, that could be a thief, and he keeps on watching. A girl standing waiting for a beloved looks at that object and thinks, that is my beloved is there waiting. And the beloved is standing somewhere else and, that's my beloved. A child who has been told ghost stories looks at that object, that figure, and screams. When light is brought there in front, they find it was this stump of a tree. We are superimposing our ideas, our fears, our desires, our anxieties on something, and we are interacting with it. We either like or dislike or whatever. This is the classical doctrine of superimposition, and it's like, Purushova, Sthanova. Is it a person there standing in the dark? It's late evening, it's like this time, and you're seeing something, or it's a stump of a tree, you don't know. So this is the doctrine of superimposition. Technically, the dictionary meaning of superimposition is the action of placing or laying one thing over another, typically, so that both are still evident. You see the stump of a tree and you are superimposing ideas, your ideas on that. We are doing it all the time. All the time. Babies till, from the cradle to the grave. We are doing it all the time. I'm not using the word projection, because projection in psychology, modern psychology, is nothing but it is a defense mechanism. And this defense mechanism is you project your feelings on that person. As I say, they identify their negative emotions, beliefs or traits in someone else. It happened because of that person. I was good, I'm a good person. That person made me do that. That person did. So that's the reason why I'm using the word superimposition. Okay. Now, so much for, like I said, we are constantly projecting it. We have so many people here on YouTube, which has gone live here. We have on the Zoom so many people. All of you are taking in things differently according to your own temperament. So it's the same thing, but taken differently. Now, to give you an example of superimposition. Okay. I want you to look at this. Okay. I use this. Now, superimpose the ideas of a blue sky behind this blue lotus, Nila Utpala. Can you do it? We all do it. This is superimposition. Simple as that. You are seeing this. This is the object. But you are superimposing the ideas of blue sky behind it, the white background. You can do it. This is the way that we can meditate. And how? Like I said, we have two streams of the mind and Doppler effect. And so what is it? The first part of the mind goes and holds on to the object of meditation. And the second, that slower part which comes, can superimpose the ideas it has of divinity on that object. So it's always a two-pronged or a two-stage activity that is happening in the mind when you meditate. Ordinarily it happens, but when you meditate, you can get it. So always remember, this is extremely important. The second slower wave superimposes its ideas, its associated ideas on the object. There it is. I'll give you a simple example. This is, I always tell people that this is the icon of humanity. Future humanity will be this: calm, meditative, inwards, and, well, all the associated ideas. Now, this is a statuette of the Buddha. Can you associate, I want you to associate ideas of compassion on this. Yes. If you can do it, and you are doing it, it's very easy. Once you get to know, you've got to associate a particular, you can say, divine attribute on just an object. This is, for all purposes, just an object now. It is associated with ideas of love and compassion and nirvana and everything associated with it. So you can associate it with this. So when you meditate on any object, it happens like this. I'll give you another example. This is also, as we know, this is it's called a symbol of Shiva, Shivalinga. Now, people have various ideas about Shivalinga. What do you associate it with? When you're seeing the object, you associate it with Shiva, who is truth, beauty, auspiciousness, and infinity. You can associate it with the face of Shiva, as well as you can associate it with the ideas of infinity, eternality, timelessness, limitlessness. So what we are doing is two things we are doing. One is the object, we are seeing this, just a symbol, and we are associating it with divinity. Well, this is actually how we really go about meditating. Okay. Before we can take up a small kind of practice, the whole concept of devotion, of bhakti, as they say, devotion, I mean, it's devotion, pure devotion. You meditate on a form of a deity. You take any deity, it doesn't matter. You take Ramakrishna, Buddha, Christ, anyone. And now you associate that image with qualities of godliness. And you know, in all these hymns are sung to a particular deity, enumerating all the divine attributes or qualities of that deity. So it is called, technically it's called Rupa Dhyana and Guna Dhyana. Rupa is form, you meditate on the form, and Guna is qualities. You associate those qualities with the form. So it's a Rupa and Guna Dhyana. This is clear? We got it then. We also would like to use that same object. As I said, you bought the Shiva Linga. In Jnana, what happens is, you take any object. Sri Ramakrishna recommends, like, okay, think of a vast ocean or a sky stretching to almost infinity. You can meditate on that. And you are like a bird flying in that sky, like a fish in that. You take any object and associate it with infinity. That is jnana. And bhakti is, you take an object or an image and associate it with divine qualities. Again, like love and compassion and unselfishness and help and grace and, you know, all these kind of things. And most of these qualities are, as I said, enumerated by the sages in a particular kind of, in those particular scriptures. So when you talk, suppose you talk about Christ, what comes to mind? Here you have Christ. What comes to mind? All the sufferings and the passions and the miracles and the kindness and the wise words that He gave us. This is the qualities associated with this form. Then it becomes extremely powerful. It is awakening your own divinity. That's the reason why when you superimpose your ideas of divinity on the object of meditation, this becomes very powerful. This is the best way to meditate. And not, it's the best way. And technically, it is also the way, the only way. Because as I said, as you think, so will you become. As you will think, so will you become. So associating the object of meditation with divinity will make us divine. Okay. Now let's do a small exercise. I would ask you to visualize a flame in the center of your chest, deep inside. Okay. And think that it is your individual soul. Okay. Now sit straight up, please. Stretch your spine. Yes, it feels good. Keep your chin level, ear up. Close your eyes, please. And feel the diaphragm. Don't visualize anything. Feel, I said. Now feel your chest expand and contract, please. Now keep your palms across your chest, please. On your heart, yes. And visualize a flame behind that palm of your heart, palm on your heart. Make that flame bright. Now bring in the associated idea that this is your individual soul, your consciousness. Think deeply that this is your consciousness, your soul. At the same time, visualize that flame. Make it grow brighter. It is illuminating your entire chest cavity. Okay, let go of your visualization. Drop your hands from your chest and breathe deeply, please. And you can slowly open your eyes. Om, peace, peace, peace. The idea is now when you're meditating on an object, and you're associating the ideas of, say, of divinity on that a particular quality. That was the question. Do we later transcend, go beyond those qualities, or no? Of course, if you want to, you can stick with these qualities only. Suppose you are meditating on Buddha as compassionate, okay, and then you say Buddha was so loving and so kind. You already have a series of qualities you can meditate on. You are meditating on compassion for some time now, and you become very compassionate also, which is what actually happens. When you meditate on compassion, you become compassionate. And now, well, there are some people who are fine with this. What's wrong? But there are some people, like I said, they will want to go towards jnana. And then you can transcend qualities and go to an abstract concept like timelessness or formlessness. You can do that. But it's a step higher. So, Sri Ramakrishna always said, you start from the lowest rung and then you climb up gradually, step by step. So, you meditate on a form associated with divinity, you become part of that divinity, and then slowly, there's something called the grace of God also. It will lead you. Sri Ramakrishna says, well, if the Divine Mother wants you, she'll give you the knowledge of Brahman also. There are some devotees, no, I don't want to be sugar. I want to taste sugar. So there are some devotees like that. Ram Prasad says, oh mother, I don't want to be sugar. I want to taste sugar. So at that stage, it is like, you are on the border between qualities and non-qualities, attributes. Yeah, it's a remarkable stage. And in Sri Ramakrishna's life and many other lives, they see them transitioning from one to the other. And it becomes easy. Once you establish in this, you've gone there, you can establish yourself there, you can. That's what we do. How do we live? We are like Vedantins. And then we say, okay, when they go to a temple, what do? You stand like that, Vedantin? No, you go and bow down. What's wrong with that? That is developing character in its entirety, not just one-sided. So, when we meditate on our chosen ideal, do we consciously think of the qualities, or when we meditate on the chosen ideal, the qualities are implied? No, you have to associate. You consciously think of those qualities. Today's imagination is tomorrow's reality. And I've said before a couple of times, as you keep on meditating in the object, as deeper and deeper, that object comes alive. And know that this object that comes alive is associated with those qualities, which the sages have seen and enumerated, which they have realized also, and they have written it in their poems, in their poetry, and in their, you can say, hymns. So those inherent qualities of that object then will spontaneously come. At that stage,
meditation has become as a flow, like a flow of oil poured from one container to another. There's a continuous stream. Meditation has become effortless. It's like breathing. You don't think about breathing, you are breathing. At that stage of meditation, it has become spontaneous. At that stage, you don't need to consciously do anything. It has become spontaneous. Okay? But you start consciously associating ideas about on your Ishta Devata, that is your chosen ideal, the qualities of God on that, and then you start. Okay. The next question is, while some objects have a long tradition of holiness and may easily be associated with divinity, it is not true that any object whatsoever can be superimposed with holiness if you persist with your effort. In fact, the yoga aphorisms say, it gives a series of, you can say, objects. One can meditate on the light which is beyond all sorrow. And it is mentioned, Vishokava Jyotishmati. You meditate on the light that is beyond all sorrow. Or, it gives the heart. Or on the heart that has given up all attachment to sense objects, like the Guru, Vitaraga Vishayam Vachittam. Or the knowledge that comes in dreams. You have seen a beautiful dream of a god or a goddess. You can meditate on that. And then the yoga aphorism Patanjali says, to conclude that section, he says, or anything that you may find good. So he's saying, Tata Abhimad Dhyanadva. But Swami Vivekananda says, yeah, people have all sorts of crazy ideas about meditation and objects. So meditate on something which is elevating. It does not say only this object. No. You can take any object, but as I said, there's a caveat. It has to have been time tested for years and years and years, and then saying, yes, this is the perfect object. That is so. That is what we need to remember. Okay. How long does it take to master the practice of meditation? That is quietening the mind, which tends to always jump about. Oh my God! How long? Again, the yoga aphorism says that Tivra Samvega Namasa. Success is speedy for the extremely energetic. And we have also spoken about qualities of the mind. There are 4 qualities. I mean, your mind has, everybody's mind is different. So if I say, yeah, you can do it in 2 years, I'm not sure you'll be able to do it, because your mind is in that state of called kshipta, restlessness, extreme restlessness. And there's another level of mind called stupefaction, stupefied mind, dull, you can say. It tends to injure, it goes towards crime and lies and all these things. The third is mainly by you can say, these spiritual aspirants. It's intermittently restless and intermittently calm. It is called vikshipta. The fourth is, as we know, you can say niruddha. This is the type of mind that's kind of beautiful. It's completely controlled. So all these various stages of the mind's qualities exist. So how long? You try what we have been teaching you. Start from class 1. In fact, I would recommend, we started with unpacking yoga teachings and practices. I would want you to go through every class one by one, practice it for 1 week, and you see for yourself Meditation is you are the evaluator. No one else can evaluate. Nobody. I do not claim anything that you will get it in 2 months, or if you give me $10,000, I'll give it to you in 2 hours. Sorry. That's taking people for a ride. No claims. You do your own evaluations. And I'll tell you, if you proceed, it will be extremely rewarding. And not only that, it is extremely now important. Otherwise, your personalities with all the stress about will just fragment. All the problems of mental illnesses that we have could be just tackled with just meditation. All your health issues could be tackled with just meditation. So you've got something to motivate you. Go ahead. Okay. Self-effort, swadhyaya, japa, etc. can surrender, both are mentioned, and surrender are both mentioned in the yoga aphorism. Can self-effort and surrender occur at the same time? No. Self-effort will lead to surrender. Always. You have to exert yourself. Just sitting down and doing nothing, God will look after me. Yeah, be careful. You're deluding yourself. He will, but you don't delude yourself. You have to come to the very edge of all your efforts, and then pop goes. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a bird. It's flying about because it was sitting on a mast of a ship, and the ship left shore, and it's in the middle of the ocean. The bird was distracted with, and then it finds, oh my God, what happened? It flies in the west and north and east and south. It's all water, water everywhere. And what does it do? It comes back and sits down on the mast once again, quietly. One day it's going to reach some shore. That's it. So you fly about, come back, then surrender. Okay. Swami, why does old thoughts and patterns bubble up when we try to meditate? They seem to be much more intense in meditation than in, yes. I want to answer this question because next Friday I'm going to deal with this. Why does that happen? At times these negative thoughts get imposed on the object of meditation. How do I overcome? Yeah, you're stirring up the hornet's nest. But if you want honey, you will have to stir up. Like, let those guys get out. So, but yes, one you can say teaching is they come out to show you what you are, what you have been quietly eating all these years, and you face yourself now. Don't run away. Many people run away from meditation because they cannot face some of the old fossilized thoughts that they thought. Don't run away. Stand up. Stand your ground. Look at them. Let them wither away. And then, so as you practice, it will go slower and slower. So it's like a turbulence, when you're meditating, your mind is kind of going into a kind of an upheaval. You may not realize it. Your entire subconsciousness and all these things are kind of creating a kind of a wave. Undercurrent is coming out. It's an upheaval that's happening. So these thoughts will come out. Raja Maharaj and all these, they recommend, don't get up from your seat. Sit down there. The mind also wants you, oh, fine, just see, meditation is not meant for you. Get up. And you give up. Okay, I think we can, if you have any more questions. So we don't have any questions here on this. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.